Vitalik came up with the Blockchain Trilemma to convince people about Ethereum when he himself missed what it actually meant. Crazy irony. So the Blockchain Trilemma says you can only solve two sides of a blockchain. So decentralized Bitcoin solved decentralization and security forever. First time in history. And so to be able to compete on it, we just should. You couldn't compete for a long time by just building a new Bitcoin.
Oh, you're basically saying pick two.
Pick two. Pick two.
So Ethereum picked
let's
scalability.
So let's go through the two. So Bitcoin, 5 to 7 seconds transaction on base level. So everybody that talked about Bitcoin, old tech, it was they couldn't be more secure and decentralized. So they had to sacrifice something else. So let's say Solana, you sacrifice security, right? A blockchain that is insecure inherently has to fail.
Yes.
Okay, so that should be pretty easy to most people. I'm surprised it's not, because there's a whole bunch of blockchains that are completely insecure that people gamble on, but they all go to zero. But I choose scalability and I sacrifice decentralization, and that's Ethereum, and that's a number of others. And so you just by very nature, I can't believe people can't see this. So they talk about DeFi on a centralized blockchain.
No, God, please, no.
Well, I've been having a discussion with people this morning because, when you arrived, I put out a tweet 2 years and 2 months ago where I said I trust BlockFi more than smart contracts. That's an unfortunate tweet because it managed to piss off everyone, because if you're a Bitcoiner, you're pissed off because you don't want to use a centralized service, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and it pissed off crypto people because they believe in DeFi.
Yeah. So, but let's use that crypto group for a second. They're actually saying, like, Ethereum is proven completely decentralized now, and so are these others. So you have a high cost function that's a blockchain. Why would you use a centralized blockchain? What economic rationale would you ever use a blockchain for?
Because you think it's going to make you more money.
It's the only economic rationale.
It's the only reason. There's nobody's thinking at a level of, like the levels you're talking about here. Nobody is thinking about the best money for the world to rebuild the foundations of money, to remove theft from the system, to improve coordination, to remove the warping, and like all these things you've talked about for years. Nobody is thinking on that level with Ethereum.
Yeah, but even
they're thinking
so,
of TPS.
Even still, I'm just saying the economic rationale to use that over the long term. People say Web3. They don't know what Web3 means. They don't know. They say DeFi on top of this. They say NFTs on top of this. And here's the problem. A database is a way more efficient structure.
Yes.
For centralization. Amazon isn't going to move all their stuff on top of an expensive structure called Ethereum to build a Web3, and neither is Google. Neither is it. It's ludicrous because somebody has to pay the more expense, and they have to charge the more expense of the more expensive blockchain. So what you understand is decentralization or Web3 on top of something that's more expensive and centralized.
It's theft.
It's theft. It'll all go to zero.
It's all built on theft.
It is all go to zero.
It's built on extraction.
Exactly. It's built on extraction. And it's built on extraction because it's the same model as we have in the fiat system. It's exactly the same model, that the rich get richer and richer inside that system, and they have to centralize more and more. And as they centralize more and more, they have to cut off certain things from other people. You have to protect the core and you sacrifice the periphery. So that centralization always produces inferior results over the long term. But in the short term, people think, oh, wow, this is growing. And they don't actually understand a network effect. The definition of a network effect is every additional user makes it better for all users. And Ethereum fails that because every additional user
Makes it
makes it
worse.
weaker
Yeah.
for all users.
Because it becomes more centralized.
Makes it more centralized.
With the blockchain trilemma,
Yeah.
how do you layer in additional layers into this? Because if you were to say for Ethereum, I say it's certainly gone for scalability, and I can't actually pick what is it sacrifice for that, decentralization and security. I would almost argue both.
So more decentralized. It would be fairly secure. Now it gets co-opted by the state because of that centralization and because it is not.
Has a decrease in security.
I don't know if it's even achieved scalability.
I mean,
So what you would do
Fair.
is you said smart contracts.
but that's what they set out to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry,
But you said smart contracts, and it's a really good example. By building smart contracts into the base layer, you have to expand the amount of
attack
space.
surface,
And the amount of space that you have to expand means as the network expands, the only nodes that can verify the network have to run so high supercompute that you couldn't actually have small nodes run the network. So you have to centralize with the most important nodes. And that's why those design choices around allowing more in the first layer force centralization.
But say with Bitcoin, it's suddenly decentralized. Directionally, it's the most decentralized blockchain.
And it's more decentralized today than it was last year.
Yes,
And every year, more decentralized, more secure.
yes, it becomes more secure.
So
But there's the argument it becomes less scalable on the base chain.
that is true.
But so how do you layer? Is this only a blockchain? And because the second layer of the Lightning Network isn't really a blockchain, it's something built on top of the blockchain. It's not part of the blockchain trilemma.
This is so important. This is so important.
So for any blockchain to be successful, it has to really focus on decentralization and security. It has to solve scalability at a high level. Where I'm going with this is, could it have gone for something else and solved decentralization at a high level? Could it have gone for scalability and decentralization and solved security at a high level? Or does it have to solve decentralization and security at the base chain?
At the base chain, if you want to change money and it has to solve decentralization and security. Otherwise, everything relies on institutions that you trust that get co-opted by money. It has to. That's why it's that's why it's so unique in time and history, because every single when we read history books, when we read about when money dies, when we read all of these, they're flawed because we never had a system that was decentralized and secure at the base. We always relied on a system that we trusted who was in power, and they abused the trust. First time in history. And so if that is true, and people should do their own work with it, it's true, but it can't be broken. It cannot be broken. And I explore deeper why it can't be broken in that article. Now it looks like, instead of what people are comparing it as, they're comparing it as an asset or something like that, or a monetary premium. They're comparing it to gold and other things. And I think it suffices that test. It's a better form of gold. But now what's happened on top of that through layered, like the internet is built in layers, you don't know what TCP/IP is. Like nobody thinks about, when they're sending their email, that the base layer of TCP/IP was invented in the late 60s by DARPA. And if the base layer failed, everything fails. We still use that system today. And the base layer has to be hardened. It has to be attacked. It has to be all of these things. So the base layer of Bitcoin is hardening over time. And all of these attacks have crystallized. It's uncompromising. The uncompromising ability on Bitcoin is the strength. So when people talk about Bitcoin maxi as being uncompromised on 5 to 7 transactions, we will not let block size expand because it ruins the decentralization security. And to try to change that, it's impossible, because there's a swarm of all these nodes that would never accept a change that it would allow that to happen. And for a long time, that creates an attack vector for all of these other cryptos to say it's old tech.
But why do you think they don't get it? Or they think they're choosing not to get it? Do you think...
because you can make a lot of money by deceiving people that your thing is new tech.